So you've heard us focus on things that we can do to reduce the burden of cancer in our states. And today I'm going to talk about one more. And it's one that's near and dear to me, which is addressing hereditary cancer and increasing genetic services. I call it a low-hanging fruit because it's something that is a cross-cutting issue all across the cancer plan. Prevention, screening, treatment, survivorship, health equity, they all are touched by hereditary cancer. We need to listen to the stories that family histories tell us, from histories of cancer coming down through generations or a single diagnosis right before us. They have information to tell us that can directly affect the care of families. We need to understand that these families, which are 10% of cancers, can't be left out on a limb. They have higher rates of cancer, they have younger ages of cancer, and they have increased risk of having multiple cancers in their lifetime. So that's why we need to focus on it. There are increased areas where these burdens show up. Financial, fear of cancer, so much of families won't even share the information of their family histories, and we need to tell people how important that is. There are areas where we have real cancer disparities that persist, and hereditary cancer families are one of them. Think of the added burden when you stack up these cancer disparities, a low-income family in a rural area with this kind of burden. We need to think about those additive features. We have new genetic knowledge that we can use to identify those families and give them the care that they need. We have targeted gene panels that are cheaper, that can look at genes for breast cancer, ovarian cancer, colon cancer, and we need to use them more. So why do people want to know the risk? Basically, to find out if there is a risk of cancer and use that information to get better care. Someone who's had cancer and wants to know if they're at risk for another cancer. Or better yet, if I have a family history and I haven't gotten a cancer. It can guide when screening happens, how often, how young someone is, and even direct cancer decisions of surgery and chemotherapy. So we need to use this information. Another very powerful way that genetics addresses the most is when there's cascade testing, meaning that a cause is found and then you spread that information out to other people in a family. And even in a few generations, that information can affect dozens of people. So what are we looking for? Well, there are established cancer referral genetic guidelines, and they take into account age and types of cancers and patterns of cancer. But let's take a lead from the Cancer Moonshot, which actually focused on that we ought to continue to do the good work that we're doing for hereditary breast and ovarian cancer, HBOC, and we need to pay some attention to Lynch syndrome. HBOC, if we just focus on these diagnoses and people who have a family history of these diagnoses, we can make a real dent. A lot of people don't know that these single diagnoses are a reason alone to offer genetic counseling and testing. So starting with these and then knowing the others. Here's a person who has ovarian cancer and her mother had breast cancer. Both of them are candidates for testing. And if the mother had had testing, maybe the daughter wouldn't have gotten ovarian cancer. If the daughter did testing and found a gene mutation, then other close relatives could get testing for just what is known to be in the family, and that's called cascade testing. And that sister could find out she doesn't have a risk that her sister had, and then her daughters aren't at risk either. It's very powerful information. Lynch syndrome is one of the most unknown conditions. It's common, and less than 5% of people know that they have it. It's the most common hereditary cause of colon cancer and uterine cancer as well. And the Cancer Moonshot singled it out alone to do demonstration projects, to do systematic screening of all people with colon cancer and uterine cancer to make a real impact. In fact, colon screening done every 1 to 2 years starting at 20 increases survival 60% in those families. So what does a genetic counselor dream of? I dream of people who have the information they need before they get cancer, and families who have the information they need to stay healthy so we can change the stories in families. And if we listen to the stories of individual families and the individual trees in our forest, we can provide much more personalized care and better care to the communities that we serve. So start seeing Lynch syndrome, start seeing HBOC, And don't be afraid of genetic services. We can make a real dent in the risk of cancer in our state if we pay attention to that information. Thank you so much.